Welcome to SketchUp Talk, the only podcast broadcast from the Trimble offices. As far as I know, it's the only Trimble podcast. Does that sound true to you?
As of right now. We might start a forest fire of casts.
Probably so. I mean,
hopefully.
If SketchUp does something, everyone pretty much gets on board and follows that.
Yeah.
That's
the bandwagon.
Learned one thing. I'm Aaron Dietzen, and with me, as always, is Matt Robinson.
Hello!
So, this season, we're dedicating each episode of SketchUp Talk to a specific industry or topic. And today is a topic that we get a lot of questions about, and it's kind of a broad topic, but it is about Trimble.
Trimble Inc. Trimble Navigation.
Formerly known as Trimble Navigation.
Okay.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Right,
That's part of the history lesson.
Oh, baby, that's a sneak peek.
That's right. So, in a matter of minutes, we'll probably be talking about that one thing.
Exciting.
Yeah, this is. So we do have a lot of people who ask us about Trimble. What's a Trimble? Where's a Trimble? What does Trimble have to do with SketchUp? Yeah. Is Trimble a verb? Can I adjectify Trimble? Make something Trimbly. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. And this dovetails nicely into something we've kind of hinted at, but never fully dove into, which is the history of SketchUp. So what is SketchUp? Where is SketchUp from? We talk about why SketchUp, but not when or how SketchUp always.
Got to answer the reporter's questions.
That's right. So
also, before we get started, I also want to say that you are coming to us remote from the moon or some other place.
It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
You may have noticed I'm in front of a green screen, which is part of our next leveling of our broadcast and video production. Yeah. So I could be anywhere.
In post, maybe we'll put you at the Trimble headquarters or something.
So
Sunnyvale, California.
That's right. So if you're only listening to this podcast, you'll have to hop up on YouTube and see the visuals too, because that's really where, you really know that this is the
It's a video podcast. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny. We actually have more viewers tend to view the video podcast than we have listened to the traditional podcast.
Well, we do have more people on YouTube in our fan base than in our subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get podcasts. By that, I think it's just on iTunes. Or maybe it's other places. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we're on the Play Store. I don't know. However Android people get podcasts, we're there too.
Yeah, play it up.
That's right.
Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Where were we? Okay, so we were going to talk about the history of SketchUp, the official history of SketchUp. So some people know this, but it was not actually made by Google. Some people have that association. SketchUp was actually founded by a couple of guys, Brad Shell and Joe Esch. Started it in Boulder. SketchUp's always been in Boulder, which is kind of cool. Not a lot of companies can say that.
Boulder born and bred.
That's right, 1999. SketchUp's a native.
Bread and butter.
If you saw SketchUp driving around in its Subaru here in Boulder, you would have one of those native stickers on the back.
That's right, yeah.
That's right. And it could honestly claim that, not like some of those people who pretend.
Sure.
There's a lot of pride associated with that, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a native. I can't speak to that. So
neither am I.
But SketchUp came from Boulder, Colorado. And the idea, what Brad and Joe wanted to do was create a software package that lets you model in 3D that was as simple as sketching on a napkin. That's actually where the name came from, SketchUp.
Napkins.
Napkin Up was
one of the rejected names.
It was actually already taken by, it's
napkin
a bar supply company. Yeah. Napkin Up.
Sure.
So they've had that guiding. SketchUp's always kind of had that guiding light of easy to use 3D modeling / CAD software, and it worked. So they started making this software. They put a couple releases out, and in 2006, Google approached Atlas about purchasing SketchUp, and obviously that happened because SketchUp went to Google, and that's actually where I think really where SketchUp blew up. So we still have users who talk about the Atlas days and talking directly to people that last, and having the install CDs that actually say Atlas software on it. So there are people around still who use it that long, but it really blew up with Google because Google's everywhere. And I think Google did a great job of telling people about SketchUp, what it was, how to get a hold of it, that sort of thing.
Not charging for it.
And they gave it away for free. Yeah, the general idea with the game plan when Google purchased SketchUp was to give it out to everybody in the world and have everybody go model their house, their place of employment, their hometown, and put it into Google Earth.
Model my town.
That was a thing. They actually had I don't know if it was a competition.
I think
just
it was competition.
An initiative. I don't know, but
initiative.
They try to get as many people as possible using a free version of SketchUp to model stuff for Google Earth. And I have a suspicion about what happened. I don't know. There was actually some people who were professional modelers for Google Earth who made models.
Okay.
I have a feeling what ended up happening was, and we can testify this because we've taken a look in some of our live sessions at stuff on 3D Warehouse. Not everybody who gets a hold of SketchUp is necessarily going to model a professional level model and post it. So I have a feeling that they were stung a little bit by the quality of the work that came from just handing people software for free and then uploading it to Google Earth.
People were making their house, but it was a pretty garb house.
It could be
a bad looking house.
Or it was, it was out of scale. It was,
Right.
20,000 feet long or something like that.
Ooh, I would like to live in that house.
Or maybe
Sign me up.
maybe there's just too many unicorns and rainbows and that kind of stuff in there. I don't know. You can put anything. You can upload anything.
KMZ.
That's
right. Is that the type of file?
That is a
Yeah,
KMZ
see,
file.
I know what I'm talking about.
Matt's all about the technical stuff.
This week's different, or this episode is different because I actually know what I'm talking. KMZ. It proves it.
Duh, KMZ. You should probably bow out now. Leave on a high note. So, what ended up happening was Google is not a company that sits still and just be happy with something, which is why they are what they are, which is awesome.
Keep moving forward.
That's right. They ended up putting a lot of energy into phototelegrammetry, I think is the term.
Okay.
Where
drones,
an airplane or a drone takes pictures of the landscape from different angles, and the computer goes in and creates a not super high resolution, but three-dimensional imagery of things like buildings and trees and bridges and that kind of stuff.
Sometimes they look melty.
They're not always perfect.
Yeah.
But they had control over that. They actually had the algorithms, they had the drones, planes to actually take the imagery. So they were able to create a quality or control the quality of images that went into Google Earth, which meant SketchUp they weren't taking full advantage of what SketchUp was at that point. Because something happened I'm going to get the date right. June 1st, 2012 is when Trimble took hold of SketchUp from Google, which is it's an oddity in that Google just doesn't sell stuff. I mean, they're like that weird uncle you got who still has his golf clubs from
Hoarders, in other words.
1942. Exactly. This was my first bib when I was a baby. Like they have
still got the spittle on there.
They assume everything and they do what they need to with it, and they just kind of hold on to it. They don't sell stuff out. I think last time I looked, SketchUp was one of 2 properties they had sold to someone else, which was great for us.
Okay. Who's the other one?
I don't remember. It was a while ago too. There's possible they've sold other things since then, but yeah, it's not a thing they do a lot of.
Okay.
There's actually, no, I won't talk about that. It gets negative. There's a Killed by Google website, which is stuff they've assumed and then processed. And if you go to notkilledbygoogle.com, you end up on SketchUp website. So that's kind of fun. Try that out.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a joke on the forum because somebody found this Killed by Google website, and somebody made a joke about notkilledbygoogle.com. And one of our employees went and purchased that website.
It's an interesting expense report. It's like, here's my,
I think he probably ate the $8 and just said it would be fun to do.
Yeah. Well,
so
some people have
more
money.
Done as kind of a joke, but it really happened.
Oh,
it's
cool.
a thing.
Check it out. Little Easter egg.
That's right. See, only you podcast listeners and watchers know about this.
Yeah.
This ended up, so the acquisition by Trimble, I think some people were apprehensive about it, but I think it really turned out to be a good thing because Trimble had an interest in using SketchUp as a professional solution, which Google, by the end, probably didn't so much. They were kind of like, they had their thing, they used it what they needed it for, and then it wasn't really that useful anymore.
Right.
So Trimble, there's a whole nother history lesson there. Trimble's been around a long time, 1978. Well, sorry. Hey, Matt, do you know what year that was from?
It seems about 1978.
I think that's
year
right.
of our Lord.
And do you know who it was that started that company?
That'll be Charlie Trimble.
That is correct. Charles Trimble with a couple of partners from HP started it up. And
Hewlett Packard, in other words.
That's the one. Yeah. I was using shorthand there. I was trying to get things done efficiently and quickly. I was trying to move
we're
through,
on a time crunch here, of course.
Now I guess we're just throwing whatever syllables out there we want instead of keeping
blah, 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 blah.
There you go.
All right.
So Trimble started off in, I believe it's marine navigation was kind of one of the first things. And
The stars, traveling by sail.
Trimble's grown and grown to be huge since 1978. I've heard 10,000+ employees now, and it's a big deal. It's a big company, and I'm looking right now at a list of all the a portion of the acquisitions that Trimble has made over the years, and it's all kinds of things. I mean, it's navigation, it's software, it's hardware. We do a lot of, obviously, we know more about what happens in the buildings portion. We'll talk more about that, especially when our guest gets here. But Trimble is spread fairly wide as far as navigation, and we do heavy civil, lighter construction, BIM, big spot in BIM. But it was really a good thing for SketchUp because Trimble had that guiding light and interest in SketchUp filling a specific spot, which was that, being the architectural piece of Trimble's BIM offering. So it's really been good because SketchUp has really grown. I can't remember at the time of transition from Google to Trimble, I think it was 30-some people, something around that.
Okay.
And it's really grown since then. I mean, we're over 100 people now. You and I both came on as part of Trimble. We didn't. If not for Trimble, we wouldn't be here in this room together,
That's
Matt.
true. Yeah, this is a Trimble podcast that even says it at the end.
That's right.
Trimble Media Production.
That sounds so official. And it is. It is official. So that kind of brings us to now, to today. That's where we are at. People use the term SketchUp to talk about a company, but actually there is no company called SketchUp. SketchUp is a product that we, Trimble employees, make. Which is okay. You can still call us SketchUp. We'll still respond. But we are Trimble.
Yeah. One Trimble.
One.
We are one Trimble.
So today at SketchUp/Trimble, one of the initiatives that's happening today that directly impacts us is the Constructible Effort, which is, and like I said, our guest, Roz Buick, is coming in a few minutes, and she will talk a little bit more about this, but I just wanted to throw this out there. Constructible is an effort by Trimble to kind of get out information about all the facets of the building industry that Trimble's a part of. And there's a website, constructible.trimble.com, which is an informative site where they post white papers, videos,
ebooks,
all kinds of things about basically the construction process. So, I mean, everything from literally, you can say this as a figuratively thing, but literally the ground up in construction. So
the idea up.
That's right. Thought forward. So
thought leaders in their industry.
That's right. And it is, because I mean, the information that's there it's not self-serving, it's very informative, and there's just a lot of great information there. So if you have to do with the construction industry in any way, it's worth checking out because it's got a ton of information there, and it goes far beyond what I understand as being our portion, because so Trimble has a bunch of different divisions and industries that we're in. SketchUp, of course, is part of the buildings, Trimble Buildings, and in Trimble Buildings, there's a series of divisions. We're part of the architectural group. So we try to kind of, obviously we function inside of architecture, but we try to keep up to date on what's going on in the other pieces of buildings. But it's a lot. We do so many different things. It's hard to keep on top of all of that. But this is kind of a cool way. If you do check out Constructible, you can see all the different spots where Trimble has a presence, and it's pretty amazing, some of the stuff that's in there. And some big projects too. So with that, I think it's probably time to bring our guest in.
Exciting.
We're going to be speaking to Roz Buick, who is, well, I'm going to let her tell her story about who she is. No point in me spoiling it, spoiler or anything like that. But so we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors, who is actually Constructible Trimble, and we will get back to it with Roz.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hello, everybody. And it is your first ad read of the podcast. Please don't tune out or skip through it. This is a very important one because it is brought to you, and by it, I mean today's episode, of course, is brought to you in part by Constructible from Trimble. Now, Constructible, you see, is a purpose-driven approach to building construction, a process that coordinates and optimizes the entire design, build, operate, life cycle. Didn't read that right, but who cares? Constructible's thought leadership covers the AECO continuum, linking the work of each construction stage and helping to implement it within businesses. Wow, sounds interesting. I would probably check out constructible.trimble.com in order to find out more. And also, if you work in any portion of the construction industry, you need to check out Constructible from Trimble. Constructible.trimble.com. Thank you. Back to our show.
All right, now it's time to speak with our very special guest. This is Roz Buick. And just so you guys know, this is my boss's 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 boss. So make me look good, please. Welcome, Roz.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, this is fun. This is we've spoke a little bit before, but this will be my first official interviewer with someone from Trimble, but much less I'm shooting high. I mean, it's you then Steve Berglund. So
Steve Berglund next.
I'm going as high as I care to go. But so can you tell us a little bit about? Well, first let's get your history. How did you come to work at Trimble? Where are you from?
So originally I was actually an academic doing research and teaching at universities, both at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg and also in New Zealand at a university and in a Crown government research group.
And that's because there's a little bit of an accent. I was going to say Boston or something, but that's New Zealand.
It's a Kiwi accent,
okay.
yeah.
All right, good.
And just so you know, New Zealand was not the penal colony. It was Australia.
Yeah, they're the criminals.
New Zealanders are all legitimate colonists from the Queen's perspective. Anyway, so essentially academic. I got into this research field in my postdoc years around computer-based decision support systems.
Oh, wow.
Applying it to agricultural, environmental, watershed management. And the goal was to actually help humans with complex decision making. And believe it or not, back then it was the early days of AI and all these buzzwords like fuzzy logic, neural nets, machine learning were flying around, knowledge-based systems. And so it was all, that field of research and trying to build really prototype software. A couple of big grants from EPA and Soil and Water Conservation that helped kick a lot of that off. But it was a fun space, and I was really into that until I went back to New Zealand. There was a lot less funding for that kind of research. So I decided to go to the dark side and go to a commercial company. And Trimble was hiring for a product manager in agriculture at the time. And because I had grown up on a farm in New Zealand and I had an agricultural science degree, I knew a fair amount about the space and applied for a product manager role, and that's how I started, which was a huge cultural shift from academia.
I would imagine.
But then I got in the groove a little bit, and so that's how I started.
And then from there, it was just straight up to the top of buildings.
Well, it's 23 years. It wasn't quite that fast, but 12 years in the ag business, which was a really fun ride because it was zero. There was 5 of us, zero business to begin with, 5 people roughly. We were trying to work out how to sell GPS to farmers. And perhaps a lot of our survey brethren in the company thought we were mad. But we, in the finish, pulled it off, and it's one of our big 5 businesses now. And
our agriculture, that's a big branch.
Yeah. So it was fun because we learned, what was the killer application in that market, and it was steering vehicles straight and parallel and equidistant swaths for sprayers, tractors, combines, all that stuff. And then
I think of different industries to sell software or computer hardware into, and agriculture, farmers is not at the top of the list of things you go, oh yeah, they use all kinds of hardware.
Yeah. It's interesting because you're selling to farmers, they actually can be quite entrepreneurial because they run and decide every decision themselves. They don't have departments and management to have to approve things through. So as long as you design the right product and you reach the farmer, and so a lot of it was about product. I call it the synergy between go-to-market and product, and finding a way to tap into the Case New Holland dealer outlet. We also had independent Trimble dealers, but the volume just went huge once we worked out which product could the Case New Holland channel take to the farmer market. And that was a huge learning curve in product management, product marketing and distribution, working with Case New Holland as a major OEM as we started to put more of the factory fit auto steer into their factories on tractors.
Wow.
So but anyway, it was fun. So about 2008, I switched to civil engineering and construction. And similarly on machine, it was a killer application, putting machine control onto dozers, excavators, and motor graders initially. And the goal was to basically automate the machine a whole lot more, make it more accurate, but remove this dependency on wooden stakes having to be put on the ground around the construction site by surveyors. Even though we have a huge business selling to surveyors, we realized we could help automate the machine and be a lot more productive. So anywhere between 30 to 70% productivity gain on these machines, depending on the application. And once you got the machine to that level of productivity, you could also start connecting it to the office and understanding the workflow from planning to field operations and back. And so the connected site was very much the strategy there to start influencing design and upstream estimating and scheduling. So that's how civil business worked. And a huge part of the strategy was forming a global distribution channel called SciTech. And that was what we did as well, working with Caterpillar dealer principals around the world to brand and establish a very prescriptive distribution channel, what skills they had to hire. We specified everything. And trained them like crazy to be really good at selling the machine control and associated products.
So you're a big fan of advocate and trailblazing, it sounds like. I mean, this is everything you've said has been, let's do something that hasn't been done before and then find a way to distribute it that doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, I think Trimble's a fun company in that we do go after markets and really have to understand how do you get inside the mind of the customer and what are their pain points and their needs. And we've been very successful at applying our 3 core capabilities, positioning, communications, and software or information to these industries to get a killer application that then opens the market up. And once you seed into a market, like we won the cab in agriculture, we could start to then control seed, fertilizer, chemicals and the likes around the tractor, and then go into the office for the farmer planning. Same idea in construction. You start to expand along the value chain, and increasingly today all our big 5 businesses are really delivering an integrated work process, trying to look across the whole value chain from in buildings, architects to engineers to contractors to owners and occupants of buildings or facilities. And see how you can do it better, because it's been so siloed and, fundamentally disconnected.
Yeah, when we've talked about that before, when we talked about BIM, how the construction industry and all of its little parts are pretty slow to change. They're not.
Yeah.
But hey, now you're involved and you sold software and to farmers. It's got to be this is what BIM needs, is Roz Buick.
Well, it's not going to be a layup, I'm sure of that, but it's definitely challenging because of the number of stakeholders that take a part in building construction. It's even more than a civil construction environment, in fact. But what we believe around the overall goal is to make projects deliver on time and within budget. That's the number one thing the industry needs. And so our focus is really all around how do we do that, which means our 40 years of being in construction out there with survey and understanding machines and all sorts of construction practices, steel fabrication, we really understand how to build, and we think that that knowledge helps our upstream and downstream workflows be done more efficiently and more productively, and even more safely and with a higher quality product. So our goal is this notion of building a constructible process across the whole value chain, where all stakeholders that really are critical to project delivery are given productivity and efficiency tools to help them do their job better, but even interact with the other stakeholders in a more connected way and more efficient way. So there's three emphasis points on this constructible process. One is bringing people's data and information together so the right person gets the right data at the right time, and we call that the connected C of the process. We also have a second C, which is the constructible model, and how do we focus on delivering the project with a very, very dimensionally controlled model. So you actually take those critical path elements on a project, which are usually the long lead time, high cost parts of a building, such as structural steel, concrete, building cladding, window systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire, security, digital, those things that cost 60 to 80% of the building. And if you get those things right first time, design, build, the subsequent trades can come in and do their work very efficiently. So it's really just project management 101, thinking about the whole project and managing the critical path. And so once you have the constructible models that go down to the last bolt when you're doing steel, or a last piece of rebar with concrete, and the structural part of concrete, cast in place or precast, and even the building cladding and window systems and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you design those all down to the last detailed high LOD BIM model, and then that can drive a lot of efficiency in the workflows around quantity takeoff, estimating, scheduling, so on, and production tracking against progress to the model through the actual project phase itself, building it. And then, of course, because the third C is content, which is building product manufacturer materials, we design in with building product manufacturer content, as well as estimate with the accurate pricing from manufacturers or their distributors. We can drive actually the tangibility of the Lego pieces, if you like, on a building to be really understood earlier in the process and help then drive on through to facility management as well. Wow. Because you've got to maintain things like MEP plant is the big part of the maintenance on a building. And so this notion of the constructible process is a very integrative work process across the whole thing, and all our products try to live up to these three C's: constructible, connected, and content-enabled workflows. And what we're seeing actually is this is a massive shift for the industry, of course. It's as much about the change management problem as it is the technology. And we think that the word process is really important to talk about here. It's not just buy me a new piece of estimating software. Right. It's as much about the departments within a contract are not communicating well between estimating and BIM VDC departments. So we've got to make these barriers and this idea of process, people, process, and technology be coming together to solve this.
Well, it feels like that's a unique piece, because this idea of solving BIM, and it's a reflex. I throw these up every time I say BIM, air quote the word, but it's an amazing idea, the idea of the information along with the model, along with the process. But I feel like most of the people who are yelling BIM are selling a single product.
Yeah.
And this what you just said just sounds kind of like it's crazy talk, saying that it's not just a product I'm selling, it's actually a process that we want to be involved with. Yeah. That seems pretty unique in this market, to go out and say, it's more than just this thing we're selling you. We want to work with you to do so much more. Yeah, and in fact, it's almost overwhelming because we have hundreds of products and services, and
And we really are not wanting to talk about specific products, but we know that this constructible process can apply to the smallest MEP contractor, or it can apply to a huge general contractor, or even the owners that are specifying projects and how to build capital programs. So it is a process, and the sooner people realize it's not just about a tech startup that's got this cool thing that does something, while that may be an element that's useful in the overall scheme, it's a very much bigger challenge than that. And we believe we've spent the last 10 years building the strategy out from a make and buy point of view to really focus in on those critical path elements, get those constructible models, and not only that, really leveraging our background or DNA in the field, we make sure these models that we design to a high LOD, engineer, structural analysis and all that, are taken to the person in the field, the guy or the girl on the tool, or the machine, the bucket, the blade, and so on. And so that whole ability to take the BIM model and make it what you actually go construct is not something many people can do, but because of our positioning heritage, we can nail that one. And I think that's a unique position. We often refer to the white-collar BIM as great, but you can't live with just white-collar office BIM. You have to make blue-collar BIM a reality too.
And that's what you hear. I mean, the other, I'm not going to sling mud or call anybody out, but a lot of the other companies you hear talking about BIM are selling software.
Yeah.
They're selling something that's at the top of the chain and it stays there.
Yeah.
It spits out a PDF or a piece of paper and then good luck downstream. It doesn't matter, whatever.
Yeah.
So the idea of, and you used the term blue collar BIM before, which I said I really liked because I've spent enough time on job sites to appreciate all this stuff upstream is great, but if it doesn't make it easy in the field, then it ends up
it's worthless.
A plan in the dirt on the side of the job site.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to me that we've spent so much energy discussing collaboration between the stakeholders, coordination around BIM models and all of that, which is great and needed. But you cannot do that. Why would you build such a great plan but not make sure the person in the field's building to that?
Of course.
And of course we output 2D drawings and that's supposed to drive the process in the field. But as you know, 2D is not intuitive. 3D is so much easier. And not only that, the next 3 to 5 years in most developed markets, about 50% of the workforce in construction will retire. And there's this huge shortage on finding talent and labor just to go beyond the tool. And we know that, let's say, the next generation that's either been SketchUp indoctrinated from age 5 or whatever, even Minecraft and all these games that kids play with, they're going to expect to work in 3D. And what antiquated thing would make you work in 2D? And it's just not intuitive to try and understand how to build foundations or whatever it is off 2D drawings, let alone the convenience of walking around, whether that's a digital 2D drawing that you're trying to interpret or it's, in fact, paper, worse still. So a big part of what we believe is critical to get that model in real-world context out to the field, and you start working with the 3D constructible models. And using technology like mixed reality as well can help greatly enable more people to live 3D for everyone, right?
That's right.
To give it all the way to the teams on the job site as well.
And that's something that's, again, I'm saying things to you that you already know, but one of the things that I've appreciated about Trimble, especially working in this construction workplace where stuff is so slow to change, is the fact that they are putting energy towards what's next. The whole VR, AR, to think that somebody's working on a developing technology with the intention of having it on a job site, every job site out there potentially. Yeah, that's a huge forward-thinking thing that Trimble does. I think sets it apart from anybody else trying something like this. I think as a company, we've always loved to innovate. We plow 14% of our revenue back into R&D every year, and we believe innovation and product strategy is central to the breakouts that we've managed to pull off. And I think and hope we are kind of always humble about the fact that we can't always build everything too. We must leverage, and so have been working with Microsoft since 2014 on mixed reality and as well as Magic Leap and others to try and really explore this new technology. And
we won't stop there because we understand position and accuracy outside in the field. We really want to say, how do we get those mixed reality media to be super accurate, not just, relatively accurate. We're always obsessed with getting things to be the most accurate out there as we can. And at that point, mixed reality can become way more than just a visualizer. It can become a QA and, in fact, help with layout. We have a lot of layout tools as well through total stations and mobile rugged handhelds that we sell to every contractor to help them install the HVAC hangers, for example, in exactly the right place. And it's amazing, that's like something we've measured 16 times faster than the regular method of layout, which is string and tape.
It's pretty amazing.
So, there's so much productivity gain that's happening right now in construction from all this technology going in.
It's exciting. I mean, it's definitely, I guess this is old hat to you because you've just been innovating like crazy and from agriculture days up till now.
Oh, it's never boring. There's never a dull moment at Trimble, and it's never boring. I think, we're evolving always. How do we engage in selling a process digital transformation like the constructible process? That's a different way of selling a solution. You can still sell point solutions such as, SketchUp for architects or content for building product manufacturers and the analytics around that, or whatever we have product-wise is still relevant to the individual and their workflows. But selling the constructible process is a much bigger, storytelling from a sales perspective and having the confidence to tell a bigger story around this digital transformation requires a more holistic thinking across your organization. Even the incentive models, the budgetary processes you run every year. Some great general contractors are really seeing how this technology lets them do more self-perform work and make more money. And they've rearranged the way their whole departments or companies work on projects and focus on, as a team, rather than separate departments, how they approach these projects. So there's some really interesting organizational impacts and changes, to say nothing of who's going to be driving the process in, example, companies like Katera who want to control more of the end-to-end solution because they get frustrated working with too many different fragmented players. There's going to be a lot more interesting customer types out there too, I think.
I think that is a cool thing to see happen when you do see it. It's too bad that it comes out of frustration, but when you see the customer who's like, all right, I'm doing it myself. They just kind of take over
control.
And the fact that we have the tools to say, great, well, let's work together and we'll put you in charge of your own destiny. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think if there's an industry to be in right now, if you're in technology, it's construction. And you could almost say it's the last great unwashed industry from a McKinsey consulting, go in and clean them up for Lean Six Sigma or
right.
Process improvements from manufacturing's been through this many years ago. I think construction's now the hotbed to be in, and so that makes it exciting. Some days terrifying too, but I think overall I'm excited for us and how we've got this breadth of solution from SketchUp all the way, influencing everybody to think 3D. And influencing the next generation of designers and architects to come into the industry as professionals and say, right, we're doing this with 3D all the way through the project. That's a massive bow wave of 35 million or more that's just continuing to snowball always with SketchUp. So that's hugely powerful. Then on into this detailed structural steel and concrete portfolio that lets you design build to a high LOD BIM model, so that you can control all the way to the fabricating machine or the concrete pour plan and be super precise about getting that right first time. And cladding and window systems are similarly with the Tekla product. And then, of course, moving on to the MEP portfolio and using content to really speed up the way you can estimate and design mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and so on in buildings. That is a powerful way to get projects delivered on time and within budget when you integrate across these. And of course, collaboration is a big part of that, keep making sure through Trimble Connect we can bring all the data together, understand how to manage the data around projects more efficiently, from documents to drawings to 3D or 5D models. I think we've got a great platform. We hope to be the most mission-critical ecosystem for design, build, and operate.
Sounds like a good plan.
And we've got work to do still, but, it's fun doing it.
That's great. So if somebody's listening and they want to find out more about Constructible and how this process can help them, what's the best way to learn about it?
Well, we have great websites. We have video content. There's a Constructible actual website that we do a lot of running articles around, what customers are doing with our tools and products and how they apply them to projects. So Constructible.trimble.com, I believe, or trimble.constructible.com, one or the other.
I think you're right, the first one. I think it's constructible.trimble.com.
Yeah. And so there's plenty of materials to go look for. And by stakeholder, you can understand which stories. We're soon going to have a whole customer repository of all the case studies we have, searchable by materials or profession. So there's a genuine resource pool out there. Lots of people at Trimble want to come tell you the story. Of course, if you have interest, contact us through our websites.
That's great. All right, anything else you want to throw out before we wrap up?
I think thanks for letting me into the SketchUp cool crowd. I go to a few base camps, try to be cool at that, but I was still working on that too.
Oh, absolutely. Always a good time though to get a chance to hang out and talk. This is good because, like I said, we've touched base a couple times, but it was good to hear the whole story. This was awesome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming by.
Okay, no problem.
All right, and we're going to hear from our sponsor, who is actually our real sponsor, Trimble, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Matt again. You're stuck with me for the next 25 seconds if I read quickly. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Trimble. Finally, hardware and software for construction management that thinks of everything. From the office to the field, we have MEP contractors covered in all aspects, of course, is how to pronounce the word of the construction process. We got estimating and CAD software to scanning, BIM, and construction layout tools. Trimble, transforming the way the world works.
Wow, that was awesome.
And what a sponsor it was.
Good stuff.
Yes.
That voiceover guy, he's something special.
He's got a future ahead of him.
He's got a thing. He's something.
Vocal
skills.
Vocalization. Vocation.
Hey,
a vocalization vocation. We'll have a Dalmatian plantation and a vocalization vocation.
I better cut that off right now. So one of the last things we usually do in our podcast is talk about something that's going on outside of our four walls, usually outside of our sphere of influence at all, something that we went out and found somebody doing. And we're talking about Trimble and the Constructible process and website. And one of the things on the website is a write-up about the restoration and rebuilding of Notre Dame.
Notre
Dame is, of course, you guys know, well, now in the future, this will be further in the past, but not too long ago, there was the huge fire, the roof caved in. Fortunately, it was during a point where they were doing some restoration, so some of the more fragile bits of the roof were actually taken off. But a big loss. A lot of it, it was a huge, terrible thing, especially architecture, history-wise.
Recognizable landmark, some would say.
It was. You know what that is just by looking at it. People who don't even know what it is look at it and go, I know that building.
Yeah.
We actually did a little bit of modeling of the building Notre Dame in one of our live streams. I use the term we. It's an industry thing, right? So you, me, and a few hundred people watching modeled together.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know that, we do a live stream every Friday. So check us out on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook generally. But we did spend some time remodeling Notre Dame. But this article that I'm talking about actually refers to somebody who went in and 3D scanned most of Notre Dame. So Andrew Tallon, I think is how you say his name, which is a cool name, by the way, Tallon, went through and scanned and has a point cloud of the inside and outside of Notre Dame. So it's actually most likely going to be used as a portion of the reconstruction. However the reconstruction happens, is it going to be a traditional roof? Is it going to be something new? That's all still being determined. But one way or another, his 3D scan of the entire building is going to be a key element. So
yeah, I think I read about this guy. It took him like 3 years, right? It's got to be like a super high resolution scan because it's like a trillion points or something like that. Like,
well, and I wonder too. It's not like you can just walk into Notre Dame and go, "Hey, I'm going to go up in the roof and take some scans." That's something you got to set up and
he must
official,
have had
right?
exclusive access, backstage pass.
So we'll link to it in the show notes. So down below, if you're watching the video or in the notes wherever you got this from, we'll put a link into this. If not, you can actually go to constructible.trimble.com and search for Notre Dame, however you want to pronounce it, and check it out. It's it has some of the images of the scan too, which is really cool, but it talks about this 3D scanning process. And it's amazing because I got to imagine when this guy went in and scanned, he wasn't thinking, oh, this will be great for after the fire, So he was scanning it, and it just happens now. We have data, an actual 3D representation, not modeled like I did, where we went in and went, oh yeah, it's about this tall, it's about this big. This is actual scan data of the exact points of where everything was. So that's got to be a huge saver for people to go back and for this reconstruction process.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's all well and good that it'll help for the fire reconstruction, certainly, that's great. But I heard tell that this guy was... excuse me, I had something in my throat, was on a search like kind of for Bigfoot or like Sasquatch. He was after Quasimodo, and he was scanning every inch of the place to see if he could catch a glimpse of the hunchback himself, Quasimodo.
Full on had me there too. I thought this was a Bigfoot hunter turned 3D scanner. I thought we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
Good to know, I guess.
But I wonder if in one of those scans, one of those point clouds somewhere hiding, creeping in the shadows of the points.
It's possible. So
was the hunchback himself.
So maybe we'll see him in the reconstruction on accident. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap this thing up. We do want to hear from you guys. How are you using SketchUp or other Trimble products in the construction process? Do you go to BIM or beyond? How do you do Constructible in your workflow? Head over to sketchup.com/Trimble Talk to hot link over to our forum and let us know. Let us know what you thought of the episode, if you have ideas for future episodes, and like I said, how this fits into what you do. Let us know how you do Constructible with SketchUp and Trimble. Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Take it easy. This has been a Trimble Media production. You've been listening to SketchUp Talk, the show for folks who just can't get enough SketchUp. If you like what you hear, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. If you have an idea for an episode or know someone who'd make a great guest, drop us a line at podcast@sketchup.com. And if you'd like to learn more about SketchUp or take it for a test drive, visit sketchup.com.